What is going on, everybody? ZyoniK here, and in today's video, I'm going to be trying one of the top performing teams from PvPoke and the top performing Shadow Gallade team in the Open Great League. Mandibuzz and Shadow Gallade is going to be the core with a Cresselia Safe Swap. This team is not something I would conventionally run, as Cresselia is not a Pokemon I am the biggest fan of, but I put together a Cresselia that I did have. Its IVs are, don't even look at that. Its IVs are terrible. Same with all of these Pokemon IVs are terrible, don't get me wrong, but I was able to make it work, and I think why it works is the power that Shadow Gallade brings paired with that Mandibuzz typing in bulk. They have really great synergies together. There could be some good alternatives there in place of Cresselia. If you guys don't have that, what I would recommend to you is that you put in Mandibuzz and Gallade into PvPoke's Team Builder, and then take a look at what the recommendations are for Pokemon number 3, and think critically about a good safe swap and what you have access to. That's what I do, and that's what I want to suggest to you guys. But Shadow Gallade pops off today. I was so excited to TM away frustration. If you guys don't know, right now is a Team Go Rocket event, so you guys can team away frustration across all your favorite Shadow Pokemon, and Gallade is the showcase of today. Hope you guys enjoy. Alright, getting into the first battle, Mandibuzz versus Shadow Magnezone. Obviously a very tough lead, so we're going to go ahead and get into Cresselia. Now, Cresselia is not a great answer to it, but what Cresselia does is it soaks damage. I love to call this Pokemon the pool toy because it looks exactly like, I mean, look at that thing. You toss that thing in a backyard pool and you're good to go. But we're going to be looking to go for Future Sight here against the Gligar that decided to swap in, and this is actually really good for us. If Gligar is the hardest answer to a Shadow Gallade, to our Shadow Gallade, then this is looking very good. Now, they decided to throw the charge move right before I could throw the Grass Knot, which is fine. Aerial Ace will take us out, and then we're going to come in with Mandibuzz. Now, whenever you run a Mandibuzz, something I always want to recommend is leverage your bulk, and we can do that in this circumstance by overloading on energy. We want to try to have a Dark Pulse ready to go for the Shadow Magnezone when it comes back in, because that's going to do a lot of neutral damage. Shadow Magnezone is pretty glassy in the Great League, so we're going to leverage our bulk by letting the Gligar throw multiple charge moves here, and then we're going to look to throw the Aerial Ace now to get rid of the Gligar and make sure we don't take any extra damage, because we don't want to get too low, right? So we are able to now Snarl down. We will see the Magnezone come back in, so we're going to look to go for a Snarl, then a Dark Pulse, and this is going to do quite a bit of damage, and it might just force a shield, which is exactly what we're going to be looking for. Now, we decide to swap out into the Gallade to start getting ahead on energy, and they bring in an Annihilate. This is perfect. Shadow Gallade is going to show you guys what strength looks like, as a Leaf Blade right here is going to do so much damage. And this spam, everyone, it got access, Gallade got access to Psycho Cut, and that is incredibly powerful at energy gain with a charge moveset of Leaf Blade and Close Combat. I'm telling you guys, this thing spams harder than anything you have ever witnessed before, and it gets out of control. And what we need to do in order to win this game is build up to 2 more Leaf Blades. We've already gotten both shields from my opponent, so what you guys will see is I will be able to go for the back-to-back right here, and this is going to be a good game, very well played. This Leaf Blade will be KOing the Annihilate, boom, and the next one will be KOing the Shadow Magnezone. So a beautiful endgame sweep here by Shadow Gallade. Boom, see ya. Good battle. All right, moving into the next one, we have Mandibuzz versus Carbink on the lead. Bad lead. We got to go into Cresselia right away. And something I want you guys to notice, and I always emphasize this, notice what your opponent does and does not do. That can give you a lot of information. Cresselia obviously can do well against Carbink with Grass Knot. And their best hard counter, the hardest counter that they have for a Cresselia, is a Feraligatr. So now you need to start questioning and thinking, why? What other Pokemon could be back there that is a worse matchup against Cresselia? My mind starts to think about other water-type Pokemon. Maybe Poliwrath, maybe Whiscash, maybe Swampert. Feraligatr looks to be the safe swap here. It could be a fighter as well, maybe Annihilate. So we got ourselves the 1-0 shields. We're going to come in with Mandibuzz right now. I'm totally fine losing Switch. I don't necessarily need to win that because I would get outpaced anyways with Shadow Claw and Hydro Cannon. But what we're going to look to do is go for a sweep. We are doing a very hard team read right here and praying that, you know what, the Gallade is going to be the answer. If it's not, so be it. But this is how you find a potential win condition. You go all in on a Pokemon. We're going to go in all in on Gallade, and sure enough, it was Poliwrath in the back. So this is going to be a good game. We want to make sure we throw the Leaf Blade before they get to Icy Wind. That would be detrimental to us if it lands. Boom! See ya! And now it is just a Carbink and a Feraligatr left. Now we need to play this very carefully. I could go for close combat, right? You might. But it's not going to be enough to KO, and it's going to lower our defenses. The better play is to be going for Leaf Blades here. It is super effective damage. We will have to throw 3, but we want to make sure that we have enough health remaining to fast move down the Feraligatr because it is still left and it has 1 HP and a Dream. So I'm going to go ahead and go for this next Leaf Blade. I don't think I would have been able to farm down in time given my health with Psycho Cut, and we do take out the Feraligatr, and that is going to be a good game, very well played. Trust in Gallade to sweep everyone. Alright, moving to the next one. Mandibuzz versus Skarmory. Flyer on flyer. Now what I like to do is, I do this all the time, tell you guys all the time, try to read what your opponent's team could potentially be. If we critically think about team building, Skarmory pairs very well with water and ground type Pokemon. So Gallade as our anchor right here is looking very good. So I'm totally fine staying in with Mandibuzz. Now, set aside the fact that I am staying with Mandibuzz, I can't swap in a Cresselia or Gallade. There's no reason to. So what we want to do is try to soft win this lead. I don't want to be giving up a shield in order to win it. So what I'm going to look to do here is go for Aerial Ace before they can get to another Sky Attack. This might just force a shield from my opponent. And so I meant earlier, sorry, soft lose lead, not soft win lead, sorry. So now what I have here is a great opportunity for my Cresselia to come in and farm down. Now I'm going to try to get to the next Aerial Ace, but I don't make it in time. So Cresselia now is going to have to come in. I will likely tank a Brave Bird right here, but that is totally fine. So long as Skarmory is out of the game or just out of energy, we are looking pretty good. And their best answer to swap in is a Shadow Poliwrath. We are obviously going to cook this game. Shadow Gallade is going to pop off as Grass Knot is going to be shielded. We're going to try our best to get to the future side here, but I don't know if we're going to make it. So I'm going to let this charge move go through as Icy Wind is not going to be enough to KO. And yeah, I decided to go for Grass Knot. I made a judgment call there. I don't think I would have made it to the future side. Grass Knot will do enough super effective damage where I can come in with Gallade and go for the aggressive farm down. Now, remember, Skarmory is out of energy, and it's extremely low. So a Leaf Blade will be enough to knock it out, and we just got to see what the final Pokemon is going to be. And remember what I said, Skarmory pairs well with something like a Whiscash, and sure enough, there it is. And this is why Shadow Gallade, if you kind of team read well, right? Seeing the lead Pokemon or what your opponent decides to do in a situation that seems kind of unconventional, it's a prediction, or it forecasts what they actually have in the back. And Shadow Gallade is going to be sweeping a lot of teams. So we go ahead and go for the Leaf Blade. We have the back-to-back ready to go, and now we can KO the Skarmory once again. Shadow Gallade was so much fun to use, everyone. This doesn't mean you're going to win all your games. I want you guys to know that. We have losses in here too, but I just wanted to showcase some of these amazing sweeps first. Good battle. Alright, next up, Registeel. This is a tough Pokemon to be facing off against, and what we're going to look to do is come in with Cresselia right here. Registeel being weak to fighting, being weak to fire, being weak to ground. I wouldn't be surprised if there's something like a Feraligatr in the back on this team, or some kind of water back there. Lantern might be another one. It would share the weakness with Whiscash, but you guys understand. And I'm noticing that they're deciding to stay in. again, read what your opponent is doing and not doing. Obviously, Registeel has a good matchup, and they are running Flash Cannon, which is an interesting charge move to have. But they are deciding to stay in. Mandibuzz is in the clear. It is now in the back. I have switch alignment by letting this Registeel take me out. But my opponent here is going to look to, I'm going to try to get to this future side in time. My opponent is going to look to aggressively farm down. Now, because of that, I'm going to safely be able to come in with Mandibuzz. They actually decide to swap out into Quagsire here. So that might have been a misplay by my opponent. Oh my goodness, I can speak today. Shadow Leaf Blade, obviously, we're going to be outpacing here. Psycho Cut and Leaf Blade is just... it's deadly, and we're going to be winning charge attack priority as well. So this is looking to be a good game. Now, what I also want to notice is that the Registeel has a Flash Cannon basically ready to go, right? They swapped out with loaded energy. So I need to keep my Gallade alive. I don't want to get caught taking out the Quagsire and then catching, or just trying to catch a charge move on Mandibuzz. It might not work out. So what we're going to look to do is just swap into Mandibuzz now and then just look to overload on energy. This might be a misplay on my end, but I figure Quagsire does have Stone Edge. Stone Edge is not going to be enough to KO, and I should be able to safely overload on energy here because 2 Dark Pulses will be enough to take out the Quagsire. So we kind of put them in a tough position. Will they decide to stay in, or do they swap out? And they actually decided to swap out and throw the charge move, which works out very well in our favor because Flash Cannon is not enough to KO, and now I can go for an aggressive farm down. So this game isn't the most technically well done game by myself or my opponent, but we're going to Jar Jar Binks our way through this as best we can, as Dark Pulse here is going to be able to take, or they actually have Whiscash now that came in, and so this is going to be a good game. Remember, we still have Dark Pulse on our Mandibuzz, still loaded. Leaf Blade right here, obviously going to be enough to KO the Whiscash, as it is going to be double super effective. Boom, down it goes. Whiscash comes in. We are going to be able to get to the Leaf Blade in time, so that is going to be a good game, very well played. Again, Jar Jar Binks our way through. For all of you who get that Star Wars reference, you are very cultured, and a nod to you, 90s kids. All right, moving to the next one. We have Lantern on the lead. Lantern is going to be a tough lead to deal with, but thankfully we have 2 Pokemon in the back that can do very well. That is going to be the Cresselia and the Shadow Gallade because we have access to Grass-type charge moves. So we're going to go ahead and let that Surf go through. They decide to come in with the Shadow Gligar here. So Shadow Gligar, getting it out onto the field, again, is very positive for us because it protects the Shadow Gallade hidden in the back, and we're hoping to unleash that, and hopefully we have a good matchup in the back, maybe something like Annihilate like we saw earlier. So we're going to go ahead and go for Grass Knot. We do get a shield there, so this is actually a beautiful mid-game matchup for us. We soften up the Shadow Gligar, we get a shield as well. The dig will be enough to KO. Mandibuzz can once again come in, load up on energy, and we are safe to do the similar play that we did earlier, where we make sure we just have enough energy ready to go for the Lantern coming in, because Dark Pulse is still quite a bit of neutral damage. As the Aerial Ace does land, we're going to look to just overload. I decide to go for an Aerial Ace here. I want to get rid of this Shadow Gligar, so I went a bit early. I could have loaded up a bit more, but now I'm going to go ahead and swap into the Gallade, but unfortunately for me, it is going to be a Shadow Dragonair in the back. Now, Gallade is a sweeper, don't get me wrong, but it sweeps when it can resist the charge move, fast move, I should say. Dragon Breath is just way too oppressive, and this opponent had a shield remaining, and as you guys can see, it's just not going to be enough. Mandibuzz does have 2 shields here, but there's also a Lantern in the back that I have to deal with, so I'm just going to go ahead and just no shield the charge moves here. I will go for the Aerial Ace. I'm curious to see how many Dark Pulses I can get off against the Lantern in order to potentially win this game, but by the looks of it, Spark is just going to do too much damage. So that's going to be a good game, very well played to my opponent. Can't take double shields into the next one, but Dragon Breath, right, good counter to Shadow Gallade. All right, moving to the next one. We have a shiny Lickitung here on the lead. Mandibuzz is a beautiful counter to a Lickitung because of the dark flying typing, right? We resist Lick, we don't resist Body Slam, it's neutral, but we also resist Power Whip. So this is a really good situation to be in because we do have 2 Psychic type Pokemon in the back. So Dark Pulse here, going to be putting in some good work. I decide to run Dark Pulse because it's just a little bit harder hitting, and Aerial Ace obviously with the recent update in a previous season is a very good flying charge move now. So we're going to go ahead and let this Body Slam go through. We're going to go for one more Dark Pulse, and then this is where I might be able to go for an Aerial Ace to try to get the knockout here early, as I may not need as much damage. So I'm going to go ahead and look to do that after they throw this next Body Slam. It's very important whenever you're running a Mandibuzz in situations like this that you want to come out of this lead win with plenty of energy. That way you can throw a charge move on the back end or just have one stored just in case. So we're going to go ahead and go for that Aerial Ace here. They decide to no shield and they come in with a Carbink. So we're going to go ahead and swap out into the Cresselia, and now they are in a tough position. Notice what my opponent is not doing. They are deciding, they're not swapping out. They're deciding to stay into a matchup that isn't that favorable to this Carbink because we are doing super effective damage. Now, Carbink is very bulky. If you guys haven't seen this Pokemon before, it's the same bulk as a Bastiodon, but it's Rock and Fairy instead of Rock and Steel. And they have a Shadow Victory Bell in the back. Talk about satisfying right here. Remember, we stored energy on our Mandibuzz for a reason. We get a shield there with the Grass Knot. We can go for Future Sight here to one-shot the Shadow Victory Bell or to get the final shield. This puts them in a checkmate position because our Mandibuzz has Aerial Ace. Again, always have extra energy on your Mandibuzz if you can, because situations like this, boom, we take it out, and now a 2-shield Shadow Gallade is facing off against a Carbink, and that is a good game, very well played. Alright, moving to the next one, Mandibuzz versus Annihilape. Okay, so this lead, our whole team does well against Annihilape. We just have to watch out for some key charge moves that it does have access to. Ice Punch and Shadow Ball. Night Slash could be a threat, but my opponent decides instead to swap into Lickitung. This is totally fine by me because what I'm going to do is a interesting kind of mid-game. I'm going to stay in with Mandibuzz for a bit, and then I'm going to come in with the Cresselia and go for an aggressive Psycho Cut farm down. This is going to do 2 things. First of all, it's going to dump the energy that Lickitung is storing up into our Mandibuzz while we resist a lot of that damage with the Lick Fast move. Secondly, it's going to allow us to overload on energy here with Mandibuzz, so we have that extra bit for Annihilape. And thirdly, when the Cresselia comes in and we go for the aggressive farm down, we are going to have so much energy that Annihilape will not be able to catch back up. So what we're going to do is let this Body Slam go through. I'm going to go ahead and do one more Snarl and then swap out into Cresselia. I banked the Aerial Ace. I have plenty of health remaining, and now this Lickitung cannot take me out in time. I'm going to get a lot of Psycho Cut energy right here, as you guys will see, and this puts Annihilape in a very, very tough position. Now, the Annihilape does have energy. We got to remember they did swap out with some, but Cresselia is going to be answering right back. Now, my opponent decided to swap in here and throw the charge move. I'm going to decide to shield, and it is going to be Night Slash, and then I'm going to look to go for the Future Sight right here. Since I gave up a shield, I want to be forcing a shield right back. A win condition for them is no shielding a Grass Knot, and now I'm going to try to get to the next Future Sight, but they go ahead and throw the charge move right away. This is fine by me, totally okay with this. It is going to be enough to take us out because now I can come in with that Mandibuzz, which once again has the Aerial Ace ready to go. This is a key factor to this team if you guys are going to run it. Mandibuzz with energy is always going to be crucial. I'm going to go ahead and swap out into the Gallade now to get ahead on energy and look to go for Leaf Blade right away. My hope is that this is enough to KO, but in reality, it's not. It gets it extremely close. Look at how close that got. 1 health point. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to farm down. I am forced to shield, as a Night Slash would do a good amount of damage. And the final Pokemon is going to be a Dugong. They tried to swap to catch the charge move, but I held the energy, and now I'm going for double Leaf Blade. Once again, close combat is probably just enough to KO, but double Leaf Blade does secure the win no matter what. So that is going to be a good game, very well played. Shadow Gallade, beautiful Pokemon. Mandibuzz, you guys got to run it. It's extremely powerful in this meta, and good game to my opponent right there. I think we have one more battle, and it is going to be Sableye on the lead. So Sableye, very good lead for us, and they decide to swap out into Clodsire, so I'm going to go ahead and bring in the Cresselia. Cresselia can do very well here because of Future Sight. Remember, Clodsire is a poison ground, similar to Nidoqueen if you guys used that back in the day, so it's going to be very weak to Psycho Cut and Future Sight. And also, we're extremely bulky, so the Earthquakes aren't going to be doing that much damage. I build up to max energy right here, and then go ahead and go for the Future Sight. This isn't going to one-shot a Clodsire. This thing is thick, but what it does is it gets it low enough where I can safely go for Grass Knots now. I'm going to go ahead and no-shield this next Earthquake. This might come back to bite me because now my opponent has an opportunity to go for Switch Advantage. But I figure if they go in double shields, well then Shadow Gallade is going to have fun regardless. So we're going to go ahead and go for the double Grass Knot here, obviously putting them in a very tough position. Will they go for hard Switch Advantage? Does Gallade need Switch Advantage to beat a Sableye? No, it does not. You guys are going to see Leaf Blade. But now what we can do is come in with Mandibuzz and load up on Energy. Stone Edge, once again, like the Quagsire in a previous matchup, will hurt, but it's not enough to knock us out. Mandibuzz is the Flying Umbreon. It's extremely, extremely tanky. But I'm going to go ahead and give up one shield here to maintain some good health on Mandibuzz, and then we will see what they decide to come in with. And it's going to be Azumarill. This is bad. I go into Gallade, they come in with Sableye, and now we're gonna put Shadow Gallade to the test. Leaf Blade right here is going to do a lot of neutral damage. I'm going to have to throw the back-to-back because, actually they decided to throw a charge move, which is fine, because any Shadow Claw damage is going to be more than bubble damage. And what you guys are going to see is this Leaf Blade now is going to be enough to KO, and now we're going to be facing off against Azumarill. Our Mandibuzz has plenty of energy, our Mandibuzz has plenty of health. But what we have to do is get a Leaf Blade off here for super effective damage and then pray that Mandibuzz can win this game for us. But Azumarill does have access to both Ice Beam and Play Rough. Both of them are doing super effective damage. We're going to go for the Aerial Ace right away. And like I said, this whole video, Mandibuzz with energy. Say it with me. Mandibuzz with energy is your key to victory, okay? We're going to be letting, obviously we have to let the charge move go through. Play Rough is going to hit us, but now looking at the health remaining, we should be able to get 2 more Aerial Aces off, and this is going to be a good game, very well played. Unfortunately, Azumarill just doesn't have the bubble damage to take us out as we survive right there. I could have won this game a lot easier had I shielded an Earthquake on Cresselia to maintain Switch Advantage, but good game regardless to my opponent. That was a fun one. This team overall, I love trying PvPoke's top performing teams. This team overall was strong. I ultimately thought that, you know what, Mandibuzz and Shadow Gallade is a very powerful core in this Great League meta right now. Cresselia, I could see having alternative Pokemon there. There's probably a wide variety that you can use, and like I said, I don't want to just give you a fish, I want to teach you how to fish. So head over to PvPoke.com, go to Team Building, put in Mandibuzz and Shadow Gallade, and then see what recommendations it has for you, because that's exactly what I do when I team build. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Shadow Gallade, mwah, beautiful Pokemon, had so much fun. And like always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.